Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Celtic's performance yesterday at the Tony Macaroni as they lost 1-0 to Livingston. A Livingston side who was, can I just remind you, winless heading into the game. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but also in the bigger picture we're going to talk about Celtic at the moment and their current away form, how bad it's been. We haven't won an away league match since February the 14th. This has stretched over now a couple of managers. It's been going on a lot longer than I think that us Celtic fans are willing to acknowledge, and it's a conversation we have to have. We've got to have. Makes more sense. Before we go any further with the video, please make sure to check out the top line of the description and download the OneFootball app. Now, in times like this, as a Celtic supporter, you might not want to go and look through our next few matches, especially away matches. You might not want to go and look at our past results away from home. But if you do want to go and keep up with Celtic and the results, their future fixtures and everything, then it's all there in the one place. It's the best app on the marketplace, and by using my link, you're helping out both me and the channel sponsor. And it's not just for Celtic, it's for every league and team in world football. Make sure to download that app. And yeah, let's get into this. Yesterday I never got to make a video. I never got to do a three things that we've learned, not for the reason that people will try and speculate that I was hiding after a defeat, or I didn't want to come out and address the negatives. Nothing like that. Purely first away game in 2 years. I was going to enjoy myself, and if you watched my preview video, you would have seen that I said that right at the end. I was having a few drinks, a couple of swallies down with the Easterhouse rocket launchers, and I was having a good time of it. You know, I didn't want to have to worry about making a video, but today I need to sit down and I need to talk about that performance yesterday at Livingston. I need to talk about that loss, and we're going to talk about everything linked in with that, as I've already said. Yesterday Celtic were not good enough. They were hopeless. In fact, I would go as far as saying it's one of the worst performances I've seen in a stadium from Celtic, live and with my own eyes, not on the television, in a stadium. It was terrible. It just seemed like we didn't have any sort of motivation to win the game or try and get back in the game. We gave away another cheap goal to a side that is, quite frankly, miles below us. And you know what, we just seemed like hopeless. That's the word I would use. There was literally no hope on the park for us yesterday. There was such a lack of inspiration. It was just difficult to watch. I had no sort of thought process of what we were doing. I couldn't break it down because it was quite humbling to watch, to tell you the truth, and it kind of brings things back down to earth a little bit. Now, I know we had about 80% of the possession, but I feel like the game was exclusively played between our two centre-halves. I feel like Stephen Welsh, Cameron Carter-Vickers touched the ball so many times that it became the centre-half show. You know, it should have been a game that was just played with A2. You know, there was no point in us having any other players in the park. I feel like it was just everything led back to those two, and it was just really, really frustrating. And to lose the game to a Livingston side who went into it bottom of the table with no wins and only a point on the board really is quite a mess, to be honest. I understand, and once again, we'll come on to talk about Ange, we'll come on to talk about my thoughts in the kind of bigger picture. I know we're playing there with a lesser team yesterday. Once again, I know we're playing on a plastic surface, a smaller surface as well. It's hard to kind of bring those tactics over and play in a situation like that, but at the end of the day, it's professional footballers, miles better than Livingston's, and with the team that we did field, with Abada being back in the team in particular, it's a team that still should be beating Livingston, but yet throughout the game we seem to get worse and worse and worse, and Livingston just seemed to shut us down at so many different points in the game. We seemed to just keep going for the same approach, and it was doing my head in. It was, honestly, it was get the ball out wide, cross it into the box, and let that huge centre-half clear the ball away. I feel disrespectful for not knowing his name off the top of my head, but the big number 6, my God almighty, man, every ball he was winning. We weren't doing anything from crosses, we weren't doing anything from the wings, and even at that as well, when we did attack the wings, I feel like the Livy fullbacks had the Celtic players in their back pocket. We didn't change it up, there wasn't an adjustment, and you've got to be able to adapt, not just throughout the game, but heading to these different venues, heading to plastic surfaces and playing in smaller surfaces. You've got to be able to adapt, and we didn't do that going there, and we didn't do that through the game, and it made the game far too easy for Livingston. And yeah, I understand it's a difficult place to go. We haven't won there from 2006, 2007. we've not won in a long time, but to go there and be as hopeless as we was is the concerning part. We never showed a threat of scoring. I think we had one or two decent chances. We forced a couple of saves out of the keeper, but we had one or two chances. It's not good enough for Celtic. We should be bombarding them with chances with the quality we have, but it just felt like we didn't have any ambition to get ourselves back in the game, and we didn't adapt, we didn't change, we didn't try anything new, and there's such a lack of inspiration there in that team with all these injuries at the moment, and I know that makes life difficult, so I don't want to be too negative, but we're now in a league campaign where we sit 6 games played, only winning 3, and we've lost the other 3. Granted, I don't think anybody has been standing out particularly well. I don't think Rangers have even looked great. They dropped points again yesterday, so it's maybe not as big a concern as it normally would be. But we can't ignore the fact that we have lost 50% of our games so far this season. But we'll come on to talking about that in the bigger picture. Last season, we finished obviously second in the table with 5 losses all season. We already have 3, 6 games in. We lost 5 all of last season, and may I remind you that last season was the most disastrous and worst to sit through in our club's modern history last season. We can't get into that this season, and a lot of people are now starting to beg the question. A lot of people are starting to bring up the fact that, the 6-0 wins were over the likes of St Mirren and over the likes of Dundee, and now we're getting into the harder games and we're playing these games and we're being shown up. A lot of people, and including Celtic fans, are now beginning to question the manager and his tactics. I'm not yet on that fence. I think that it's extremely harsh to go out and fully... Look, he's still the manager at the end of the day, and he still needs to be up for criticism, and Ange knows that. Ange has acknowledged that, and I'm not going to hide away and say he's blameless here, because he's got to take a share of the blame for yesterday. He has. I think the changes once again were left too late. I think that we didn't change when we had to. We were going down this, and I've been through this, we were doing the same thing time and time again that wasn't working. The manager, of course, has to take a share of the blame for yesterday, but at the same time, I'm weighing up the situation, and we'll talk about one situation in particular in a moment, where the board have completely and utterly left him out to dry. And to be quite honest, I feel like they've thrown him under a bus and set him up for a catastrophic failure. With the way that they have went about things this season. We're going to talk about one particular incident in a moment in regards to James McCarthy and Ange Postecoglou. But yes, Postecoglou can't go with no blame here. It was a concerningly bad performance yesterday from Celtic, and it's been a concerningly bad run in away games, but that stretches over longer than Ange has been here. The board, I feel like, have set him up for failure. You look at the options he has yesterday, and I know we're riddled with injuries, but we don't have enough there. We don't have enough quality. We have players who, were on that bench yesterday, but they shouldn't be playing for Celtic. Nir Bitton, he was a change yesterday. Nir Bitton shouldn't be playing in the Celtic shirt again. He's quite frankly not good enough. And yet we have him coming on the park to try and change a game. Yes, Nir Bitton to try and change a game. You never think so. So you've got to look at that in a couple of ways, and I think Ange has got to take a bit of the blame for that, and I think the board have got to take a bit of the blame as well, because they have given him such a hard hand here to try and turn things around this season. Now, what we've got to remember, and what we've got to remember as Celtic fans, is this is something that we were crying out about as a project when this was announced and we got Ange and we've seen the job he had to do. This rebuild was never going to be a quick fix, and that's my concern, that Celtic fans are going to get into that mindset. Now, I know I've done a lot of whining and complaining about yesterday's game, but that's football. I'm going to, obviously, when my team loses to Livingston, I am going to be concerned, that I'm going to have a bit of a moan about it. But in terms of the bigger picture, people are rushing to their panic stations, and journalists are quick to come out and say this, that, the next thing. Opposition fans are quick to judge. This is something that was never going to be fixed with overnight magic. This is something that we have to trust in, and we have to give them the year for. The 3 losses that we have in the league right now, Tynecastle, Ibrox and the Tony Macaroni, are stadiums and areas that we have struggled in for as long as, the last 4 or 5 years, even when Brendan Rodgers was here. Tynecastle, difficult place to go. Ibrox, never used to be for a good while, but now is a difficult place to go. The Tony Macaroni, we haven't won since 2006. These are tough places to go, and Ange has had a tough start, especially with the rebuild and now in the kind of full swing. So I think that we have to take ourselves back for a moment, examine the situation and go, right, okay, there is some questionable things there, and I think tactics is one especially. eventually, but we've still got to remember that this is a situation that was going to take longer than that I think we all think it was going to take. I think this is going to at least take a year. We all wrote ourselves off of winning the league this season, but suddenly after a couple of 6-0 wins, people have got their expectations high, and now we're sitting questioning the manager. I'm not saying you're not right to question the manager. I think there is questions to be asked, but I think that in terms of the bigger picture, Ange is still something that is completely in the works, and it's going to be in the works for a while, and these things are going to happen regardless. But still, yesterday, not great, not good at all. It now sees our away form stretched to an embarrassing run of results, and it goes way back. February 14th was the last time that we won an away game in the league, and if I throw my graphic up on screen now, there is the result since February 14th in the league. A loss to Ross County, a draw with Dundee United, draw with Aberdeen, loss to Rangers, draw with Hibs, and then the three games this season, a loss to Hearts, loss to Rangers, and a loss to Livingston. That's 8 games that we have failed to win away from home in the league. And then you throw in, of course, the struggles in Europe. Against Betis, against Alkmaar, yes, they're higher opposition, but we have been losing a fair share of away games. But it's more that league run that's concerning. We need to overturn that. And you look at our next 3 away games. We've got Motherwell, who are flying at the moment. We've got Pittodrie, we've got Easter Road. I don't even want to think about that at the moment. So why do I feel the board have to take more of the responsibility at the moment? Well, if you've been reading the Twitter and everything else this morning, then you'll know that there was a story broke about James McCarthy. Now, yesterday, James McCarthy was hopeless. I thought he looked decent at points in the first half. As the game went on, he looked so out his depth, he looked so uncomfortable, and he couldn't complete a 5-yard pass. And surprise, surprise, the Athletic report this morning that Ange Postecoglou had nothing to do with the signing of James McCarthy. As I expected and as I predicted when the signing was made, I knew it was going to be a board solution because he was a free transfer, he's a Celtic man, he's an Irish international. We knew that sort of signing was not the kind of player that Ange Postecoglou would want. Now he's got him now, he wants to work with him, fair play, and hopefully that James McCarthy can grow into this system. But everything about McCarthy's footballing career over the past 3-4 years would suggest he was not ready to play a Celtic side under Ange Postecoglou. And this story about the board from The Athletic this morning is worrying for a number of reasons. Now, The Athletic reported that dressing room sources have spoken of how James McCarthy has struggled in training with the pace and intensity of Postecoglou's sessions and the demands of his midfielders. The Athletic understands neither Postecoglou nor the scouting department had meaningful input into the signing of McCarthy, and the Republic of Ireland international looked uncomfortable during the Livingston game. Dermot Desmond, no, that's the first thing I can think of. Surprise, surprise. Dermot Desmond wants to bring in a player who is an Irish international Celtic fan who's good pals with. I doubt he's good pals with McCarthy, but the alarm bells are ringing, and these are the sort of things that makes it so hard for Ange Postecoglou to succeed at the moment. He's getting ushered in these signings who aren't his, who he doesn't want, and if that's just him, how many other players is it happening with? How much input is Ange having? And what's the direction at Celtic behind the scenes? That's the worrying thing, and that's why I'm worried that this board are hanging us out to dry. And we're going to struggle if players like McCarthy can't get into Ange's style and system. I know a lot of people have got a soft spot for McCarthy because he's a Celtic fan, and rightly so. I want him to succeed, obviously. But, how long is it going to take for him to be up to speed with the rest of the team and be up to speed with Ange's system? Is it time we have to waste? I know I said trust the process, but McCarthy's a player who will be paying a decent wage on a 4-year contract. We really need performances out of him. Also, the dressing room sources. Who's the dressing room sources? Is there a rat in the Celtic dressing room? I don't know, it just seems weird. There just seems to be Don Mackay leaving, dressing room sources. I'm not a conspirer of any sort. I think if you've been watching me long enough, you'll know I'm not into all my conspiracy theories and all the rest of it. But behind the scenes, I'm worried about the club, the direction the club's heading in. The moral of the story is we need to sort out this away form. What is the solution? How do we fix this? Well, we need confidence. But I think we need to, and Ange needs to learn to adapt. I think I really do, and this isn't me coming out and throwing Ange under the bus. I don't want anybody thinking that for a moment. People will be gathering their opinions now different ways and want to express them in different ways. But we haven't shown enough initiative in games. Game management has been poor. Yesterday, we weren't willing to change and adapt. Thursday, you're 2-0 up in Europe now. I know Ange likes his attacking football, but you've got to be able to change that. You've got to be able to go 2-0 up, take a slightly more defensive approach in the game maybe, and try and protect that. Instead, we threw it away in 5 minutes. And I think it's hard when the players don't turn up too, but there has to be a shared responsibility. Who does take the brunt of it? I don't know. But there has to be a shared responsibility there, and we can't not criticise the manager. That's a very dangerous hole to go down, and it's a hole we've went down before. That does it. A bit of a stinker of a video to make, because, you know, you're suddenly on a high with Celtic, then suddenly back down below. We'll be talking about it a lot more in great depth on the podcast this week. Hopefully we'll be changing the days of the podcast for the foreseeable future. Monday has become a day that seems impossible to record, so it might be a Friday gig now. We'll soon see, but we'll be back and talking about it in depth with a range of opinions, hopefully, and hopefully get you guys involved over time as well. Make sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.